What is up, fellow Viego mains? Today is a sad day. The unfortunately long, unawaited Viego nerfs are going to be live on patch 12.12, and unfortunately speaking, they are quite brutal. Now, I'm going to talk extensively on his builds, items, the new WE combo that they took away from us. I'm going to talk about everything right here in this video. It is a sad day for Viego mains, but I will give you some comfort in telling you all the information you need to know and all my thoughts on the nerfs. So let's get into it. First thing I'm going to talk about is the Viego nerfs. It is pretty much the center focus of this entire patch. I'm sure you guys want to hear about my thoughts on the Viego nerfs more than just about anything else, because that is the most important part. Alright, first is his passive, Sovereign's Domination. So they're decreasing the heal from 2.5% of the target's max health to 2% of the target's max health. Now this is probably the most justified nerf. This is probably what everybody when they heard Viego was getting nerfed, this is probably what people expected. I completely understand that his passive healing is getting nerfed. I mean, they basically nerfed healing across the board in the game, so it makes sense that they would want to nerf his healing. I don't think that this is the biggest deal. I think that if they had just nerfed this alone, Viego would have still been in a perfectly fine spot, perfectly justified nerf. So this aspect of the nerfs is fine. I think we can probably all agree on that and compromise that the healing aspect is definitely fine. Viego will still be okay. He'll still be able to get his resets. At least he'll be able to survive after his resets in most cases. Now, I'm going to skip this one because for a second, because this needs some further explanation. And our Heartbreaker. So bonus damage goes from 15, 20 to 25% missing health to 12, 16, and 20% missing health. So this is a big deal. This is where the nerfs start to get a little bit overkill because, I mean, in the durability patch, Viego already has a little bit of a harder time getting his resets, getting executes on his own. Especially if you're running the Divine Sunder build, it's very, very difficult to get kills on your own, which is why most people have started running Kraken Slayer. Now, to be fair, with Kraken Slayer, you do a lot of damage, but nerfing his execute damage is just gonna make him even harder to play, because in a lot of games, especially versus heavy enchanters or super tanky teams with lots of CC, it is already pretty difficult to play Viego. One of the main reasons why Viego doesn't have a super high win rate is because there are certain team comps that just completely nullify Viego, and I'm sure if you play Viego, you understand this. So the reality is that this, while coupled with the other nerfs, is going to be a big deal. I'm sure there will definitely be points where you go for an ult, they survive with, 10 HP, you're like, what the hell? I would have killed them on patch 12.11. As unfortunate as it is, this is just something we're going to have to deal with, so we're going to have to get used to the new damage. I don't think that any of these nerfs kill Viego, but they definitely do take him a bad place. Alright, now the W change. This, in my opinion, my humble opinion, is the most egregious of the nerfs. I think this is just completely dumb, and I really hate the fact that this is nerfed. I'm going to show you guys an example of what the hidden W is, which is basically what this is talking about. They've removed the hidden W from the game, which is a huge skill expression of Viego. It's a huge outplay mechanic. It's a really big part of your ganks, especially in high elo, where you really need the hidden W to pull off ganks. So let me show you what they're changing about it in game, and then I'll talk more about it. Alright, so first let me explain what the hidden W mechanic currently is, and let me then explain what they're doing to it. So right now on patch 12.11, and since Viego is released, he has the ability to actually cast his E during his W channel, which you still will be able to do post nerf, but what it does currently is if you press your W and then your E, you're instantly invisible, which means that you can come out of invisibility with your stun charged, and it's very, very difficult for the enemy to outplay this, because, I mean, basically look at it from their perspective. You coming out of the bush, invisible, they know that your mist is there, but they don't actually know where you are. So it basically just gives you the ability to surprise people with the stun, because if you think about it, I mean, the stun is very easy to dodge. You throw that at a master tier player or above, they're gonna dodge it. That's just kind of how it goes. But if you do it from invisibility, very difficult to dodge. Now, what they are changing is they're making it so you don't go instantly invisible anymore. I'm not currently on the patch 12.12 patch, but basically is what it'll look like. You're gonna press your W, and then you're gonna be visible for a second like this. So it's gonna look a little different. However, you will be revealed that you are channeling your stun, and it's gonna be a lot more obvious what's happening, where you are, how far away you are, and the fact that you're channeling your stun. It's gonna make it a lot more difficult to gank. So realistically, this is how you're gonna have to gank. It's gonna suck, but you're either gonna have to E first, run at them, and then channel your stun in front of their face, which makes it obviously a lot more inconsistent, or you're just going to have to do your channel in like a bush or something until you're invisible, and then go for it. Now, there probably will be a world where it's not actually that bad in situations like this, where you're able to channel in a bush, I'm invisible, you know, go for a gank like that. Now, the part that really sucks is, like, let's say I'm low HP and I'm getting chased through the river, a Warwick is on me, he's chasing me, and I turn the corner like this, and I want to turn on him. You know, that's something that I do all the time. That's something a lot of Viego mains do all the time, is where they use their hidden W to surprise somebody with a turn. Now, basically, he would see that I'm channeling my W, see that I'm potentially trying to turn on him, and it takes a lot of skill expression out of the game, which is why a lot of Viego mains hate this nerf, because there's so many ways to nerf a champion without removing skill expression. The worst way to nerf a champion is to take something out of the game, because good players are able to utilize it. This is basically just why this is such a big deal. So I hope I explained it properly. I'm sure that if you play Viego, if you consume Viego content, I'm sure you understand at this point what a big deal the hidden W is. It's basically one of Viego's bread and butter techniques, and they are removing it. I really, really hope that they add it back one day. I hope that this is not a permanent change. Maybe his win rate drops super high and they add it back. It sucks, but we're just going to have to find a way to deal with it. Nothing you can do about it, just have to accept it. Now let's talk about the item. Now technically the nerfs to Viego don't actually change his builds that much. I think they're going to stay relatively the same. But there are some corrections I want to make from my last video that I made in 12.11. There are some builds that I think are a lot better than Divine Sunder, and I know I highly recommended Divine Sunder in patch 12.11. At this point, I think Divine Sunder is just not optimal in a lot of cases, despite the fact that it's still super popular and a lot of people run it. But the build that I think you should pretty much run every game, if you want, is the Kraken Slayer build, which consists of Kraken Slayer into Merc Treads, into Black Cleaver, into Death Stance, into Maw, into an assortment of items. So let me first talk about the situational items here. As you can see, I have Zhonya's in this item build, and I have it in all the item builds. Now, Zhonya's is an actually unironically underrated tech, and in a lot of cases, I think that Zhonya's is actually more useful than GA. First off, Viego has AP scaling on his W, double auto on his Q, his E movement speed, and his passive heal. So he has AP scaling, so it's not like the item goes to complete waste. But in a lot of cases, when you're put into GA, it's in an unopportune time. You don't get to choose when you go into GA, it's just when you get killed. Whereas with Zhonya's, you can, if you're skilled with Zhonya's, using Zhonya's, you can use it to dodge CC, you know, fatal ults, all kinds of things. You're basically in a lot more control, and Zhonya's, in my opinion, Zhonya's has better outplay mechanics than GA, and that's why I like running it a lot. In games where it's time to build a GA, I've honestly just been running Zhonya's, so it's up to you. If you guys want to try it, you guys can make your own decisions on that. But generally, the core build is Kraken Slayer, Black Cleaver, Death Stance. You can build anything else after that. This build, it provides you tankiness. Black Cleaver gives you a lot of HP. It gives you a lot of damage, shred, survivability, value. It's pretty much just going to give you everything you need. It's going to give you consistency. I don't build Bork in this build because going Bork into Kraken Slayer just makes you too squishy in my experience, especially in higher ranks. So this is just the standard build for Viego that I recommend. Now next is the Sunfire build. Now some of you guys may be aware of the Sunfire build. It's not a cult secret like it used to be, but Sunfire is an extremely strong gold efficient item. It got buffed last patch, and it's still strong now. And especially given the fact that Viego has less damage on his ult now, and his passive healing is nerfed, I think there is definitely a world where the Sunfire build could be standard. The one thing about the Sunfire build that it's really important to know is this build is not playable versus true damage champions. If the enemy team has even one true damage champion, it's not worth going this build. I mean, basically the entire build relies on the fact that you're extra tanky, and if you have people that just completely shred through tankiness, you might as well just go damage. So like if they have a Trundle or something, a Vayne, Master Yi, Fiora, I do not go this build. But in games where they don't have true damage, or perhaps just not a lot of percentage health damage in general, I think this build is actually probably the best. I'll have to test it out more once I actually play with the nerfs a bit, but the Sunfire build is actually completely and utterly optimal. Don't think that this is troll, because it is definitely not. I prefer this build over Divine Sunder. In like almost any time I would run Divine Sunder, I would prefer to run Sunfire. So just keep that in mind. Alright, and unfortunately, as I can't go a single patch without, at least putting Divine Sunder up there, because Divine Sunder, it is consistent. It's also something that a lot of people have been running consistently over the course over a year now at this point. So if you guys are used to Divine Sunder and you want to run it, feel free. Honestly, sometimes being more comfortable with your damage profile is more important than, like running what's perfectly optimal. If you're very comfortable on the type of damage you deal with Divine Sunder, then, keep running it. But in my opinion, these other two builds are better than Divine Sunder, but at the end of the day, it's your choice. If you feel that it's a Divine Sunder angle, feel free to build it. You're not going to get flamed for it. Nobody will shame you for building Divine Sunder, except maybe other Viego mains, but your teammates, I'm sure they won't mind. Divine Sunder is still okay. Not the most optimal, but it is still good. Alright, now, one thing that I wanted to talk about is the fact that Viego is a champion that can be tuned for solo queue eventually, and there have been some writers that have talked about the fact that they potentially want to give Viego a more solo queue focused balance. One of the suggestions that they made about Viego and solo queue is that potentially they could give him increased crit scaling on a lot of his abilities while nerfing some of his base damage. Obviously, that doesn't apply to this patch, and it's all speculation for now. That's something that we might be able to look forward to in the future, is a world where they buff crit Viego, and we get to play full crit Viego all the time. In my opinion, this is just the most fun build. If I'm ever messing around in a normal game, I just go full crit Viego because it's just a blast to play. If you've ever played it, I'm sure you understand. So full crit Viego is really fun. At this point, they took our champion away from us. He's gonna get nerfed like 3-4% win rate. If you want to play full crit, play full crit. Don't let anyone shame you. This build is fun. It's good, and you should definitely consider playing it. I don't think anyone will blame you for playing full crit Viego. Alright, my final thoughts on the Viego nerfs are, as much as it does suck that Viego is getting nerfed, the reality is he's getting nerfed because of pro play, which sucks for solo queue players, or normal players, or whatever player you are. I'm sure most of us are not pro players. If pro players are watching this video, hey, but stop playing Viego so he doesn't get nerfed. Anyways, the reality is that Viego is a super popular champion, super dynamic champion. I don't think he will stay in this nerf state forever. Perhaps I am inhaling the maximum amount of copium possible, but I do not think that he will stay in this state forever. I think that there's a good chance that he will get solo queue focused buffs in the future, because this patch is going to hit him really hard, and usually when a popular champion like Viego gets absolutely nerfed the way that he's about to be, they normally compensate buff him, champs like him eventually. We can stay hopeful. This next 2 weeks of this patch is probably going to be rough for Viego mans. We can unite in our sadness around the champion, but I don't want you guys to stop playing Viego. I think he will still be able to be played. You'll still be able to do crazy things with him. At the end of the day, we play him for a reason. He's got the reset mechanic, and that's just, honestly, in my opinion, the most fun mechanic in the entire game, and that still exists for Viego. So I think that we just have to power through, hope that his win rate falls far enough that they'll actually rebuff him. Hopefully next time I make a video like this on this channel, it will be a different story with some Viego buffs. But I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I hope that this was insightful, or at least comforting in some sort of way. I know we're all in a bad state as Viego mains right now, but I appreciate you guys watching. If you guys want more videos like this, sub to the channel. Let me know what you want to see. I would love to make any kind of content that you guys want to see. And yeah, I appreciate it. Good luck on patch 12.12, and I will see you in the next video.